Hey, welcome back to Two Super Guys Trade Stocks. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Vinny, and today we're going to talk about a brief highlights of the 2022 Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting. Warren Buffett, my patron saint of investing. I don't know about you guys. Charlie Munger was also there, made some lovely Charlie quips, but I'm going to give you a couple little highlights on some of the stuff they talked about.
Yep, this one was more interesting than most. If you guys like this kind of entertaining stock market content, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe, and we'll get started. Two Super Guys Trade Stocks.
Can you believe that Warren Buffett, the OG investment, said to buy Bitcoin?
He did?
He did not.
Oh, okay. I'm relying on you for this one.
I know, right? In fact, he actually said if you offered him all the Bitcoin in the world for $25, he would not give you that.
That might be the stupidest thing he's ever said, because he could just sell it back 2 seconds later for like at least
That
a lot more than that.
that was his point, is that this entire thing relies on the greater fool kind of theory of investing, is that if you gave it to me for $25, then I'd have to find someone else to sell it to for more than $25. Like, what's the point? Like, why would I want this?
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, I mean, he talked a little bit about like farms and apartment complexes. He was like, if you gave me a number on owning 1% of all apartment complexes or all farms, he goes, I could give you a number on that. He goes, I'd pay you $25 billion, say, for that sort of stuff. And he goes, those things produce things. They produce cash flows.
Yeah.
The farms produce wheat. He goes, the Bitcoin produces nothing. He goes,
It
it's got a magic to it. I will give it that. But a lot of things have had magic to it in the past. And, what does that really mean? Doesn't amount to much sometimes.
the
So
whole thing is
call it magic.
the value is perceived as to what we think it as, just like NFTs, like apes and crap. They just
Yeah.
buy a thing and then they think, well, this is gonna be worth more and more, but in reality it's worth absolutely nothing. It's just whatever you can get someone to pay for it.
Yeah, true. A lot of things in life like that. He talked a lot about inflation, or a little bit about inflation, how it's like a thief of opportunity, and that companies are continuing to have to reinvest in these like inflated dollars, and therefore they're going to have to derive a return basically on these inflated prices. He did talk a little bit about Jerome Powell and the whole COVID pandemic. So he actually called him a hero, which was interesting. What do you think about him calling Jerome Powell a hero for what he did?
I I don't think he did a bad job. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's funny when anyone talks about inflation or anything else, everyone just says like the president, like regardless on which president is president. In reality, it's I mean this guy's controlling it's really his
Yeah,
decisions.
yeah.
I think you know what, as a first pandemic in like 100 years, I think he did a pretty good job.
Yep, that's exactly what Warren Buffett said too. He said this was truly like times that we hadn't seen in decades, and a lot of Fed chiefs would have sat around with their thumb up their butt, so to speak. But Jerome Powell got out there, turned on the printing press, and he said, I think it was Charlie actually came up with a little quip about how the PPP loans, half of the money went to companies that didn't even actually exist, something like that. But he goes, but when they
Nice.
got money out the door. He was and getting money out the door was the thing that mattered at that point in time. That it likely forestalled any significant economic shutdown that would have been far more detrimental even than the pandemic impacts were. Yeah, we're dealing with the tail effects of that, and you're dealing with this inflation that is swindled people out of the value of their money. But over the long run, it was better to avoid that entire shutdown
I mean,
in
the
the U.S.
things that
economy.
could have happened, like for instance, like the Japanese yen right now is tanking. There's a whole mess of things that could have happened that didn't happen. I think he did a good job. I don't know why people
Yeah.
are angry.
So, for anyone that follows this channel, you probably know Dylan and I both Alibaba bulls, both own a significant portion of our portfolios are invested in Alibaba shares. We didn't get a whole ton about it, but there was one question posted to Charlie, and they talked a little bit about it. He talked about how the government in China has been warning investors for some period of time, and we're shooting this right now on May 1st. And it actually talked about how in the last day or two that Chinese leaders are reversed on that. We're actually going to do a separate video on the news stories there, but yeah, I know, right? Like, Charlie Munger was aware of this and talked about it already yesterday, Dylan. And then, but he said he's just getting better deals, getting better impact for his money in China, investing in China, particularly in the internet sector, as he kind of clarified. And it's funny that
Would
they
like to
turned it
know
back over.
why. I would like to know
Yeah.
why he sold a bunch of his Baba.
Well, that's a good question. He did not go into that much detail.
Damn.
They didn't even mention Alibaba specifically by name. He just talked about investing in China. And when they threw it back to Buffett, he goes, I have nothing to add to that.
Fair enough.
So I guess he's not talking about buying any Chinese stocks over here publicly. Um, one thing that was kind of interesting to me is Berkshire talked a little bit about, or Buffett talked about Berkshire being better than banks. He's like, it's funny. He goes, a lot of my subsidiaries have these cash line of credits. He goes, I don't really understand why. He goes, they can just come to us when they need cash. Like he's like, most of the time they don't use it, but they just have it on their balance sheets
That's such
or
a
on their books.
awesome statement. That's just
Yeah,
such a
yeah, it was like a little OG right there. He did talk about they have $106 billion in cash on hand right now. They did buy $50 billion worth of stock in the first quarter of 2022, $3 billion back in share repurchase, and this Activision Blizzard. Dylan and I were talking a little bit about the arbitrage opportunity here. They actually increased it up to the point where now Berkshire Hathaway owns 9.5% of Activision Blizzard. At 10%, you have to disclose it publicly. He did mention it, but it wasn't something that it was like a required disclosure. He decided to talk about it. What do you
yeah.
think?
That is. Stay tuned for that video because we're actually going to talk about Twitter and Activision Blizzard arbitrage opportunities. Um, it honestly is it's a pretty cool opportunity that doesn't happen a lot. So
Yeah,
we'll go
I,
into it.
I think the last time he said he did this was in 2016 with Monsanto, getting purchased by Bayer. But it is an opportunity. He said they did more often down earlier in their career, and when they can present themselves at this point in this scale, he said it's something we engage in. What's also funny is both the Activision Blizzard CEO, I forget his name, and Bill Gates were both in attendance at the Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting this year, along
Nice.
with Tim Cook, J.P. Morgan's Jamie Dimon. You got like the who's who. Morris Bry was there. A lot of big famous investors turn out for this whole thing.
So you're saying there's like $1 trillion under that roof?
Yeah, easily. I went once. Like I'd love to go back at some point. It'd be
Nice.
cool to go before he passed away. But and he did actually buy more Chevron and Occidental Petroleum as well during this first quarter. They talked about Robinhood. What do you think they had to say about Robinhood?
All right. So I'm coming to this blind. Oh, you know what? I'm guessing. I'm gonna go with he's actually okay with Robinhood and is happy that it's easier for people to invest. I don't know.
Not at all.
Opposite.
No.
Cool.
They talked about it basically being the hidden kickbacks that it was disgusting and it's unraveling. And this is a Charlie Munger. God is getting just.
Nice. Wait, is that for people invested in it?
Yeah, I mean, he did talk a little bit about like people using it as like kind of a trading platform. So he talked about how he's like, oh, you can buy 3-day calls on some obscene thing. He goes, but he's like, no one's buying calls on farms or something like that. I mean, that comparison didn't really make sense to me. It's a little bit like antiquated. That's when he shows you a little bit of the funny duddy side there. But it definitely, I understand what his point was about, like this being out and out gambling in many ways, and that they've
So
turned into a casino.
I get that. I use Robinhood. I just don't understand how it's bad because I don't do any of those things. And then on top of that, if some people will say like the execution is good, sometimes I'll lose a cent.
Mm.
I mean, it's fine. You can just do a limit order. The problem solved. It's just their honestly, it's their user interface on a phone is better than all other apps. It just is, in my opinion. And if
I
you
would agree.
aren't an idiot, why are you buying calls expiring 3 days out for like 90% out of strike price? That's your fault.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
I think the thing that he was really kind of focused on the fact is that they got this massive like spike here when it came public, and then it just sold off massively as insiders just unloaded their shares and continue to do so. He didn't put a number on it, but he's like, the vast majority of like the selling pressures come from insiders offloading their shares. Um, yeah, big sellers of that. That was his line. What do you think this is a
A
reference to?
bubble.
Yeah, stock market bubble a
This is
little
a
bit.
very good photo
Um,
of a bubble. That is
it was
the
a very good photo of a
prettiest bubble
bubble.
I've ever seen.
That's impressive. I cannot take any credit for that whatsoever. It's Google.
Okay.
But it's kind of the same ilk here. He's talking about how we have all these computers trading with other computers, and that I like this line. This is we've got people who know nothing about stocks being advised by stockbrokers who know even less. Hence why this channel is named Two Stupid Guys Trading Stocks. Okay.
They were very blatant in the title there.
Yeah, well, that's the idea. It's like, there's so many people out there purporting to be experts and just like, throwing this crap at the wall. But like, this channel is designed to be like open and honest. Like, we're trying to figure shit out. Like, nah, oh yeah, I just swore, whatever. But occasionally Berkshire gets a chance of something, and it's not because we're smarter. We're sane, and that's the main requirement in this business is just hanging out and waiting for the actual ones that make sense to come to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That was major highlights.
Yeah, I'm honestly, it's pretty cool he talked about crypto. I wonder if crypto is going to respond to that comment and drop a little bit. It'd be
I mean,
interesting.
I think Elon Musk already came out and called him an old fuddy duddy for what he said about that in
Oh,
the
well,
last
I
like few
mean, if they
hours.
got Elon's support, it's over.
Yeah, I mean the guy who sold $8 billion of his own company this week. Of course.
Well, he's got to buy Twitter, bro.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then he's got to use Dogecoin to run Twitter.
Yeah, you'll see. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen there. All right,
Yeah, same.
guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you liked it.
We'll catch you in the next one.